Hi guys, welcome back to this African perspective. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so today we're going to be checking out videos about the tipping culture, and a lot of people are actually very exhausted with the tipping culture in the US and their experiences with it and how annoying it is, especially when you've experienced a whole different, totally different country and you see that, oh, like the tipping culture is not like they don't really tip like crazy, like it's something where you just do voluntarily. And this is not necessarily the fault of the people who are asking you that you need to tip, like the people offering you like these services. The places are refusing to pay people enough and wanting people to pay their employees wages even though they already pay for the services. But anyways guys, before we get right into this video, I give a big shout out to Patience for $5 super thanks. Thank you so much, I really appreciate you. Thank you for supporting this channel. Make sure you click the like button, it really helps with the algorithm and I appreciate that so much. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Let's get right into it.
Tipping culture in America is out of control and it keeps getting worse. A few months ago, I was in Miami at this place called Pura Vida and I bought a cappuccino. When I went to check out, there was a mandatory service charge on my bill for $2. And I don't mind paying for good service and tipping for good service, but there wasn't even an option to tip the barista. It was a mandatory service charge. I thought mandatory service charges would be like the final boss of tipping, but I was wrong. They took it a step further. I was on Twitter today and I came across this photo of a tip screen where the no tip button is covered and it says tip, thank you. If I saw this at a restaurant or a coffee shop, it would literally make me want to tip $0 so fast. I would rip the tape off of this screen and click 0 and walk away. Tipping is meant to be optional based on the level of service that I receive. And coffee shops and restaurants are moving to a point where you have to tip no matter what, which incentivizes bad service, which makes me not want to sit there and get good service anymore because it doesn't even matter how good the service is because the tip is all the same. Whenever I travel abroad to Europe, it's such a culture shock because when you finish a 3-course meal with fire service, great food, good wine, the receipt doesn't even give you the option to tip. They don't even ask for a tip. I said, where do I sign my, where do I add a tip to this receipt? They looked at me like I had 3 heads and they went about their day. If you have good service, if you knock it out of the park, if you're a funny, hospitable waitress or waiter, you deserve a fire tip. If you're a barista warming up my Starbucks bacon, egg, and cheese in the microwave for 3 seconds, I'm not tipping you. And don't cover the no tip option on a tip screen. What is that?
At the risk of being called broke, I gotta ask, can we all admit that this tipping shit has gotten out of control? And don't get me wrong, restaurants, I get it. Waitresses, waiters, I know y'all only making about 45 cents an hour. And that's crazy. So I get it. The minimum I tip is about 15%. And I could tip up to 100% of the bill. It just depends on how I'm feeling. The drunker I am, the more I'm finna tip. You understand me? But if I'm placing an order online for some food and you're making me pay online, like there's no option for me to pay at pickup, don't ask me for no damn tip. I ain't even seen the food yet. What? I haven't even seen the food. I don't know what's going on with the food. I could get there and it looked like trash and I'm already tipped 20%. You got to be kidding. What? And not to mention you folks that be providing services. I just seen this video. This girl went to go get a massage. They asked her to pay for the massage before she got the massage and then asked for a tip before she got the massage and then got mad when she tipped like 10%. What? That's crazy. What be on y'all's mental for real? Why not just increase your, if you want the tip that bad, increase your prices.
Gratuity is not a tip to your server. We don't own the gratuity. Most restaurants/lounges take half or sometimes all of it. The other half that remains is normally pooled and split amongst everybody that worked that shift. Grat is grat. A tip is a tip. What don't be clicking? Well, to me, what's not clicking is how you intentionally take a job that you know pays you $2.17 an hour and that you have to rely on the rest of your income by begging for charity from strangers. Now, when I go out to eat at like sit-down restaurants, I always tip. I was just raised to, give a proper tip. But y'all are really, really getting out of hand. First of all, gratuity is a tip. Whoever told you that, you need to go fight them. Your job is stealing from you. You got 99 problems and I'm not one of them. It's not the customer, it's you and your employer. Look, we try to tip y'all. We try to make things work. But y'all just keep demanding more and more and more and more and more. And y'all are asking us as customers for things that we just can't give you. We're pouring from an empty cup already. You work at a restaurant. You know where all the sharp objects are. Go grab some of them and demand that your employer pay you a proper salary. You gotta split tips and you acting like that's my problem. I didn't do that to you. Get a new job. Unionize.
There's currently a restaurant going viral right now because you guys know when you go to pay and there's like the options to tip and it says no tip at the bottom right. They actually covered that up. And so they're going viral right now. Tipping culture has gotten out of control. Understand that tipping is optional. And I believe the person was ordering takeout. Don't quote me on that though, because it reminded me of the Subway's POS system. Anyway, tipping is optional. Making it mandatory, now we have a problem. Because there's a myriad of reasons why people can't tip. If I'm going to go pick up food from TGI Fridays, I'm not tipping. If I'm going to Subway and I'm just getting a cookie, I'm not tipping. If I did not sit down to eat and I was not serviced, I'm not tipping. Stop asking people to tip when there's no reason to tip. I think people at Starbucks tip too. I don't go to Starbucks. But I think they have to tip too. It is ludicrous. It needs to stop.
Not even have the zeal to be going to places. There's no excitement to actually go into some places. It's literally too much. Like the tipping, like tipping someone, there's no problem with that. Like always tip as much as you can, assist those people that are working or servicing you, giving you any service at all, like, because it's not easy. Do that, by all means. Like if you feel like you felt like you also received a very good service from that person. But also, I think it just gets annoying when they are just doing too much and asking you to tip for literally everything, like a lot of stuff that do not need tipping. I went to a restaurant, I called and ordered for my food to go and pick it up. And when I went in there, to me, I was just thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go pick it up, because like some places I go pick my food up and I don't even, like, I don't tip. It's just they don't ask for tip, you just pay them and then just leave. I went there, wanted to go and pick it up, and then the next thing I'm about to make payments, I'm just saying tip, and it's like the options that I have is 20%, 15%, and then that's just it. I'm like, why? Then custom. It's like custom. It's like, who am I even paying this tip to? It was literally a forced tip, like you need to tip us by all means, and it's like, who am I tipping? Because I just paid for this food. I thought I paid for the food. So why am I tipping who? For what?
Gratuity is not a tip to your server. We don't own the gratuity.
So I'm going to share with you guys my experience of how tipping culture has gotten way the hell out of hand and how I had a waitress who tried to get one up over on me and it didn't work. So we had a little art festival in the town that I live in, and this was on Friday, and one of our, favorite cigar lounges is in that area. So we decided, me and my husband, to walk over there and get a couple of sticks since it was all outside, and we were going to smoke a couple of sticks while we walked around. So we go into the lounge, and when you first walk in, you got the bar over to your left, you got the humidor right in front of you. So we walked directly into the humidor. The waitress comes in and asked us if we needed help finding anything. I was like, no, we're very familiar with cigars. We got it. Told her thank you, and then we proceeded to pick out our own cigars. Now, in the humidor is a place for their retail side for you to check people out. Outside of the humidor is for the bar patrons, and they can check you out there if you're a bar patron. So she asked us if we were going to stay. I said, no, we're gonna leave. We'll just go ahead and get our cigars and go. Well, instead of checking us out inside the humidor, which I thought was a little bit weird, she checked us out outside the humidor. So my only guess on that one is that they do not have an automatic gratuity on the indoor humidor kiosk like they do on the bar side. So she takes us out there and proceeds to check us out. Now, she did not hand me a receipt before I handed her my card, but I went ahead and gave her the card because she just kind of held her hand out. She had a little bit of attitude. So I was like, I'm just kind of, this was a weird experience. I'm just ready to go. And so I handed her my card, and she hands me the receipt and then walks off. Doesn't say thank you or anything. Okay, so she had a big attitude. So anyway, I proceeded to look at the ticket, and I'm like, why is there a 23% gratuity on here for cigars? I'm like, this is weird. So I went ahead and put no additional tip, signed it, and walked out the door. And as I'm walking out, I stopped my husband, and we're standing outside. And I'm like, did I just tip that little girl for doing nothing? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, what the hell am I tipping her for? She didn't do nothing. He was like, I don't know, babe, but we're just going to go. We're just not going to come back. So I turn around and look at him. I'm like, no, I'm not about to do that. No, you're not getting my hard-earned money for nothing. Like, you didn't do anything to earn that. So I walked back in and I looked at the manager and I was like, excuse me. I was like, since when is it your policy to add an automatic gratuity onto somebody's check? And he goes, well, that's been our policy since COVID. And I said, really? Because I've been coming here for the last 5 years post-COVID, and that's never been the case. And he was like, yeah, I know, I recognize you. Yeah, no, I've seen you in here before. And I was like, so where'd the gratuity come from? And he was like, well, that's for our bar patrons. And I'm like, I'm not a bar patron. I literally got my own sticks, chose my own sticks, cut them, and left. I'm like, so where is this gratuity coming from? He was like, well, you should have been charged that. And I said, then I'd like a refund, please, because I'm not paying for your waitress or your cashier to do nothing, right? So anyway, he refunded us. I left, and the waitress, I guess, got pissed that I had walked back in. So because my husband was sitting out there on the patio waiting, and she started to yell at him, trying to tell him that he needed to leave because I was getting a refund on my gratuity. So I know that she knows that she did something wrong, because she wouldn't have had that much of an attitude about it if she had done the right thing. But anyway, you know what? Here's the deal. If you are in an industry and your business allows you to choose an option to ask your customer to give us a tip or to give you a tip, not everybody is going to tip you, and you damn sure don't deserve a tip if you don't do anything. Okay? And you know what? If you're a waitress or a bartender, you have to work for that tip. You are not entitled to anybody's money. Okay? And if you add automatic gratuity onto somebody's check, you need to expect that you are not going to get an additional tip, regardless of who you are going to have to split that automatic gratuity with. Now, listen, if it's for a large party, I completely understand the need to add additional gratuity. I'm not talking about that, okay? So, and chances are you will get more money if it is a large party. But this idea of automatic tips and gratuities onto people's checks, that is not your bar patron or your restaurant patron's job to add additional money onto it after you have already increased their tip with an automatic gratuity. If you don't want to have to split it with somebody else, and that is part of your restaurant's policy, guess what? You need to go find another job. Go find another restaurant to go work for. Go find another bar to work at, because it is not your patron's job to increase your money because you have to split it. You chose to work there. Tipping culture is way the fuck out of hand, okay? And in this economy, people don't be having extra money to be paying y'all shit.
When you go to the USA and you're a tourist and you're not used to tipping, but then you go to a restaurant and then you see the little tip line, if you put $0.00, a portion of that meal is going to be taken out of the server's paycheck. I know it sounds fake. I know it sounds like bullshit. And I know it's not fair, but it's true. Do I think that America needs a little bit of reform, especially when it comes to our tipping culture? Yes. Do I think it's getting out of control? Yes. But when you're a tourist, it's not your job to be like, I'm not gonna tip because it's my form of protest. If there comes reform, it has to come from the waitresses and the waiters themselves. But that's not up to you. You don't get to just say, no, I refuse to participate, because what you're doing is you're fucking over your servers who are just working, and oftentimes servers live paycheck to paycheck. I saw a story on here of like a person, it was like a 20 top, which means 20 people. She was serving 20 people, and it was a $400 check, and they only tipped like $25. She had to give like $24 to the pool of like hosts, cooks, bussers, and she made $1 off of a $400 tab. Do you know how much the restaurant pays us outside of tips? I think at Texas Roadhouse where I worked, I think I made like $2 an hour. So when you choose to tip $0.00, it's not the cute little form of protest that you think it is. You're literally denying your server who's waiting on your beck and call. You're denying them a meal or a tank of gas. It's important that you put aside your personal beliefs about tipping and actually just support the people who are serving you, because you're only in the USA for a couple weeks. You can't make fundamental change. All you're doing is taking money from servers, literally taking money from servers. I know it sucks. I know it's not fun, but if you can't afford to tip, then don't go out to eat. That's just the fact of the matter in the USA. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but when you visit a country, you need to conform to the country's customs. People always tell us that when we go abroad, so it's only fair that you guys would respect it in return.
If I have to go up to order, I'm not tipping.
The other day I was at a restaurant, and when I got there, you don't order from a person, you order from like a little kiosk. And then at the end of my order, it asked for a tip, and I was like, I don't really feel like tipping if I have to go up to a kiosk, like someone's not even taking my order from me. And then when we went and sat down, instead of bringing our food to our table when it was ready, they rang a bell and called out our order number. So they didn't even bring it to our table. What in that service deserves a tip? Because I did all the work except for making the food, and I don't think you should be tipped for making food. That's the bare minimum that your job is required.
For what?
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thanks for your support. Wait, hold on.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
All right, so I was just gonna ask you a quick question right there.
Here's your check. Suggested gratuity is $100. And let's say that you did tip me that $100. It would have been a pleasure to serve you. Now, if you don't tip me the $100, then it's not. So yeah, let's get it done.
It's something that needs to be spoken about. They need to fight for these places to be paying the people that are working for them well, be paying them living wages. I don't know why a lot of people, some corporations or some businesses just have that strange behavior, or they've adapted the strange behavior of wanting extreme free labor. Like literally they feel like, why should I even be paying you? If they can find a way to not pay you even a dime while you still work for them and do the most for them, they would really accept it. They'll be so happy to take it. So it's like, I just find it so despicable that people would just be so into getting free labor from people, not wanting to pay them a lot. Because imagine somebody working for you and they are paying you, you're still getting a lot of profits from that business, and then you're just paying the person who's working for you possibly just $4 an hour, and then telling them that they'll make the rest from tips that customers should come and be paying those people's wages. I just feel like it's just wild.
Here are my honest thoughts on tipping. I think tipping culture has gotten extremely out of control. The funny thing is, as somebody who's traveled all over the world, I've been to 44 countries, no other country I have been to has a tipping culture. If you do tip in other countries, you usually tip before your meal so they know to give you that extra attention. I can't think of a single country I've been to where the price on the menu isn't just the price that you pay. Only in America will it say $15 on the menu, but somehow that ends up being a $25 bill. Everybody's asking for a tip for things that don't even really require a tip. And I'm saying this as somebody who worked in the food industry in different capacities. For example, when I worked at Panera, first of all, you can't tip. But even then, I would never expect somebody to give me a tip at Panera. And then it just makes you feel really uncomfortable, especially when you're just at like a coffee shop, let's say, and then they turn around the screen and they're like, oh, it's just going to ask you a few questions. And then they're just watching over you, and it makes you feel like you are required to tip because you're uncomfortable with them watching you. I grew up being taught that lunch is 15% and dinner's 20%, and I kind of pretty much abide by that. But it also always depends on how the service is. If somebody forgets about me my entire meal, if they drop off the food and then let's say I need sauce or something and then they just never come by again, I'm not going to tip them 15 or 20%. But I've been to restaurants where I've tipped 30, 35, 40% because I was just really happy with the service. I know a lot of other people, including myself, are very sick of the way tipping culture is going. And I think it's actually turning people to the point where they don't even want to tip at all.
There's other cities, but in New York City, tipping culture has gone out of control. I went to a coffee shop in Brooklyn, Williamsburg, let's be fucking specific. The barista turns the iPad and the options are 29%, 39%, and 49% tip. So what you're telling me is on my $5 coffee, I should be tipping half the... What am I tipping for? Why are people not being paid what they're supposed to be paid? I stood there in shock, like in actual shock, that 49% was like that it was an option on this iPad. There's a tip for everything. These iPads are swiveling around in my face anytime I buy something. I'm buying things at a cash register at a regular retail store, and it's like, do you want a tip? For what? I went, I found the object myself, I brought it to the register. What am I tipping for?
My husband warned me not to get on here and post about this, but when have I ever listened? I just got hit with a suggested $84 tip for Target. Let me explain. I went onto my Target app and saw that they were having a sale on their home delivery service, $49 for a whole year. My first thought was, awesome. Target's trying to compete with Amazon Prime. I'm all about it. It's going to save me time throughout the year. I purchased the $49 subscription. Then I go onto the app and I get an Apple Watch because mine was broken and I needed a new one, and 2 giant things of toilet paper. My husband added some vitamin waters and a couple pairs of shorts. When the lady drops off my order, I realize that only my Apple Watch and the 2 things of toilet paper are there. So I go into the app to see if something was canceled or she forgot something. And before I can go into my app, I have a suggested tip of $84. Now, I guess I should have figured, because the way that we tip on everything, that this was going to be a tip service. But I really thought it was like competing with Amazon Prime. So I feel terrible. I put myself through college serving tables. I understand the value of a good tip. But there's no way I'm paying someone $84 for getting the Apple Watch, walking across the aisle, getting the toilet paper, and then driving 3 minutes to my house. So I take the option for custom tip and immediately call customer service and ask to cancel my subscription. Now, this part made me mad. The lady on customer service said, well, you can add a custom tip. You don't have to tip that. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to be a jerk. If these workers are doing this because they're expecting that tip as part of the salary, I'm not going to be the person a terrible tip and ruins their day. That's not okay with me. I can drive and go do pickup or go inside the store. It just really made me mad that that was Target's answer. Like, like, how about you pay your people a decent rate so that they don't expect an $84 tip?
So I keep seeing videos about why the lash industry is dying, and as a consumer, I will tell you, and this has nothing to do with people putting their own lashes on at home. Not only are the prices ridiculous, but the tipping culture is getting out of control, and I will tell you with a personal story. I got my lashes done maybe like 4 weeks ago. They're in desperate need of a refill, and I went to this new place and I got the premium silk lashes. The service was $150. That's fine. I'm willing to pay for it. I know what the price is. I'm going for the price. So when I went to pay, I paid $50 in cash, and then I paid $100 in card and put the 20% tip on my card. So that means that I put $20 in tip on my card. So overall, I paid $170. When I left the place, I received a text asking from the place if I was sure that I wanted to put only the 20% towards the $100 that I put on my card, and it wasn't that I wanted to put it towards the whole $150. And I'm like, yeah, I'm tipping $20. That's how much I'm tipping. Whatever. Didn't think much of it. When I go to book my refill, I'm having a hard time booking the appointment online. It keeps giving me an error. And something in my brain told me to try with a different email, and I did, and the appointment went through. So that means that they blocked me from scheduling online because, I don't know, I tipped $20 on a $150 service. Which already, I feel like that's a decent enough tip, but the price is already up there. And I don't understand, like, if you're charging $150, your employee should be getting a cut of that $150 service. Like, how much are you paying them that your employee is only relying on their customer tips? So the reason that your businesses are dying is greed. Honestly, it's greed. At the end of the day, like, people do not have money to afford these things, and do not expect me to tip way extra on top of a service that you're already charging an exorbitant amount of money for. Because, if they actually told me, like, hey, the lashes cost $180 and you don't have to tip, I would more likely book that service than knowing that I have to pay extra money on top of that. I should not be the one having to pay your employees at the end of the day. You should. Stop being greedy, charge reasonable prices, understand that we are basically in a recession. People who can afford your services will pay for your services, but do not dupe us into paying for your employees.
People who are serving in restaurants, the pay that they receive an hour, all the pay that they actually, I've heard a lot of them, and I'm like, to me, when I started hearing how much they get paid, I was just shocked, and I was like, is that really true? Like, is it possible that someone is getting paid that amount? Servers in any way that they are being paid this little, I think they should actually be protesting that those people or the places they are working for should incorporate how much, like they should put it in there, like whatever they are going to charge me, they should put it in there what is enough for them to pay the people that they employ, so that at least I know those people are getting like a constant money. Then if they want to get tip, then it's just like a free thing for choice, like they just get it as an extra bonus. Paying them so little amount is just an abuse, literally. That's what it is. It's really crazy that in the US, most times when you want to go and purchase something or just go out, you know, like, oh, let me just go and, you know, take care of myself or just get some service like that, you have to sit down and be thinking about, oh, just having the money, the normal exact amount is not enough. You have to sit down and figure out, oh, I'm talking about when you're extremely broke though, but like you need to, you know, amount for, oh, you're gonna pay taxes out of it. Whatever you purchase, you're gonna pay tax for it. Oh, whatever you purchase, you're gonna pay tips for it. You're gonna give people tips for it. You're gonna, like, it's just like, oh my god, like it's so overwhelming. But I don't know if this might just sound like, oh, people are just complaining and you shouldn't be complaining because of tips. But I'm just saying that I do not blame the people that are the workers that actually asking for the tips or need to get the tips because they need it. But the problem that I feel like is there, the main issues are those people that hired them. Why would you create a business that you know you cannot pay the people that are working for you for? That's it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching this video to the very end. Make sure you please click the like button. It really helps with the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.